Welcome to another edition of We Need to Talk About Movies. Brought to you by BanterFlix.com. And now, here's your host, Jim McClean.
Hello, I'm your host, Jim McClean. Welcome to a rather different edition of the BanterFlix podcast. Yes, we normally need to talk about movies, but on this special episode, we're just going to ramble. And I know I might hear you say, and I might see you say, listeners and viewers, I know I could ramble on for an hour on my own, but I didn't think that was the best way to go. So I'm joined by some familiar faces, some familiar voices, some we haven't heard for a while. That doesn't mean they're not part of the BanterFlix family. So joining me on this recording is the master of storytelling, Darren Vincent.
Hi, Jim. How's it going?
Darren, I'm almost tempted to move you from master storyteller to quiz master now, because you're now doing a little quiz for us, and more on that later. But I don't know, do you want to stay with the master of stories, or do you want to be the quiz master?
Well, I think like any good story, I ask questions in my story mainly about myself. And I'm actually glad I've been invited on tonight, because I've been working, from home for nearly a year now, and I find myself rambling with myself, and you guys all exist in my head. So it's nice to actually see that this is real. And, the quiz was great to give me that opportunity to throw myself into something. So I appreciate that. So thank you, and call me what you want. Just keep me sane over the next few months until we're all out of this. So,
Darren, there's no proof that we exist. We could still all be fictitious creations of your brain just to help you cope with everything. Have you ever really seen us all together? I don't think so.
No, but I was thinking about this, but none of your names are anagrams. I can't make anything out. Like I was sort of expecting like Joe Mc Elroy would spell like I am Darren or something backwards, but no. So I'm safe.
Maybe your subconscious is just that clever, but let's not go down there. I'm also joined by one half of the BanterFlix Sleuth sisters. That is, I was going to call you Jackie Weaver. That might be because of your name on your Zoom handle, Joe, but it's Joe Mc Elroy, one half of the BanterFlix Sleuth sisters.
You can call me Britney Spears. How is everyone doing tonight? All good? I'm doing well. And yes, I am a Sleuth sister. Thank you for pointing that out, Jim. But yeah, another shout out to Darren. Thanks very much for doing that quiz. It was fantastic.
It definitely brightened up my life on a rather dreary January evening. So we're looking forward to the February quiz. And as I said, we will come back to the quiz. But we can't have this as an all-male affair, because women can ramble just as much as men can. We are in a time of equality. So we have with us Kate Hunter Cannon. Hello to you, Kate. I nearly said a rude word there, but I didn't. I saved it. See, there we go. We're already on a rambler. Kate Hunter Cannon. Hello to you, Kate. We haven't had you on for a while.
Hello. It's good to be back. Yeah. Nice in this kind of Brady Bunch style Zoom call.
Yeah. You were formerly of the Strand parish. Now you're in Bristol. So how is things going with yourself in the time that we last seen you, which would have been probably about maybe a year and a half, maybe?
I think it was maybe, summer 2019, I think I was on. So
a long time ago.
Yeah. I'm working in another cinema in Bristol in the Watershed. So I'm continuing my streak of, I think this is the fourth cinema I've worked in now. So clinging to those free tickets.
So tell us about, since we're all here, we are cinema lovers, tell us about your cinema.
So it's another independent cinema in Bristol, and they have a really class program. Obviously I'm not working at the moment thanks to lockdown, but I have I've had the odd shift. I think the odd week that we were in a tier that allowed cinemas to be open, so just living that furlough life at the moment.
Live the dream, Kate. Live the dream. So we're going to be talking Rambly. We've no set topic for this. Not that we ever have a normal set topic for our traditional podcast. So we'll just be talking generally what we've been watching. But I thought that since we're recording this on Valentine's weekend, I know the podcast will be going out a little bit later than that. I thought we'd be getting a bit romantic here. And I found on the internet, now it's mixvixen.org. I'm not quite sure. I don't think that's the full thing. Mixvixen.org. A meet cute generator. And we all know meet cute. It's kind of that trope in romantic comedies of how our two lovers meet. It has to be kind of cute. So I find this. So it's our little going to randomize this. So I'm going to ask you, Joe. So it says me here with my option, your meet cute. And it gives me an option. 1, do you want 1 to 4?
I'm going to go number 3.
Okay. So that's all we get. I would love to say all the rest. You could ask specific numbers. So I'm going to hit generate. So this is what I'm going to, by the end of this podcast, I want to have cast this. I want to have come up with a name for this romantic comedy. And I want to come up with a witty tagline. And all the pressure is on you because all I have to do is hit the generate button. But I'll maybe intervene anyway. So we've done it. Our meet cute generator is character A is a juggler. Character B is a clown. They're doing their boardwalk acts and bump into each other. Character A mistakes character B for their friend and butt jabs them. So that's, we could maybe go for kind of like a Joker kind of thing in this. I don't know. So that's, I'm going to get you to get your thinking caps on, and we will come back to this at the very end. So character A is a juggler. Character B is a clown. They're doing their boardwalk acts and bump into each other. Character A mistakes character B for their friend and butt jabs them. I don't really know what a butt jab is. I don't know if I want to.
Yeah.
I don't
think
know.
Maybe a pinch or something out there. Not that, you know, I usually go out to mates and just grab them by the ass and go, oh, hello, friend.
It's just a playful butt
Poke them in
jab.
the butt.
Yeah.
Hey, well,
Poke for you, buddy.
you know what, Joe? I yearn for the days of a good butt jab because now everybody's 2 meters apart. You can't do that.
You can get a broom or something, just like poke you in the hole.
Okay.
I used to know a guy years ago, and he had this thing in secondary school where he would, to get like, this is really bad. I probably shouldn't be talking about this to the Ramble, but he used to get a girl's attention.
Hang on a minute. Hang on. I know he's the quiz master, but Joe, Kate, I think there's a Darren Vincent story coming here.
So hear it.
I'm holding my hands up here and saying this was not me. I did not have any way confidence to do this, but this guy used to be like, oh, you know, when you're like maybe like 12 or 13, you're like doing like, oh, do you have a girlfriend? And you go, oh yeah, she's in a different school, you know, she lives abroad type thing. But he'd be like, oh, I have so much confidence with the girls. This is how I get the girls. I go up to them and I would slap them on the bum and say ass tag and then run away. But I think he got suspended for playing too much ass tag in the school. I'll not name the secondary school, but just, you know, I'm trying to see how we could develop this into a screenplay with clowns involved.
I'm kind of thinking that
Where's
maybe
the line?
we might already have the name for our movie, Ass Tag. I think that might be.
Hashtag, yeah.
That might be. I'm suddenly saying like Ed Helm, kind of somehow. Maybe it's just because the tag connection.
Mm-hmm.
Will Ferrell, maybe. I don't know. Kind of. Is anybody kind of?
Oh,
who's the new Will Ferrell?
I don't know, but like I've just come up with the prologue in my head. It's him getting suspended from school, right? He meets the juggler lady friend or whatever, right? And they went to primary school together, but they didn't realize they knew each other later in life. So on the boardwalk, when he's playing ass tag, as he does as a clown, he slaps her in the bottom, and then she's like, "Oh, I remember that hand." And then that's how they their meet cute happens again.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all coming together.
I just imagine, yeah.
Joe, are you kind of venturing into like 50 Shades of Grey territory here now with that? Like, I remember that hand. That's all I'm saying here. I mean, that's kind of venturing into, you know, I'm sure it's tasteful. And classy and all that kind of thing. If this was made in Northern Ireland, it would be very classy. But I remember that hand sounds a bit weird to me.
It's an inner monologue, you know. You can express it whatever way you want. There's just that moment of realization. She's like, "Oh, I remember that hand from childhood." Which, oh no, it's getting darker. No, can it?
Okay,
no.
Okay, we'll come back to this. We're going to park that now, and you know, with all the kind of bad thoughts that have been going through all our heads during lockdown, we'll park that back there. Let's generally chat. And feel free, Kit, if you want to go first, or Joe, or Darren. Generally, have you been watching anything? Anything caught your attention kind of in the world of cinema, or anything you've watched on, well, we've no real option at the minute other than streaming services. All legal, and I'm not pointing at you, Joe Mc Elroy, but all legally available, of course. But, well, I'll start with you, Kit. What have you been watching? What has got you through lockdown? And lockdown 3, if it's the same with you over in Bristol.
Yeah, I was trying to think earlier of some standout films. I found that I've been renting quite a lot of films on Amazon Prime, just to see something new. I think I finally watched Possessor, Brandon Cronenberg, which I really enjoyed. Finally saw that. That was good. Has anyone else seen it?
Oh yeah, I know.
Right.
I agree. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I saw it in London. I'm trying to persuade my lovely wife to watch it, but I'm not certain because there's a goriness to it. I don't think it'll be her cup of tea. I can't see it being Darren Vincent's cup of tea, but we could be wrong.
Well, the gore, when I was reading it on Wikipedia, it didn't mention the gore. This is going to ruin the Ramble. So
I forgot about this, Kate. In case you don't know, Darren reads the synopsis of horror films to find out what happens and maybe how gory it is to decide whether or not he can watch it or not.
Yeah,
that's quite a good system. Have you been on is it doesthedogdie.com?
Yeah.
I would
Die. Yeah.
That's quite a good one.
And where's the jump.com, which is good. Wikipedia is good because some horror films have great plots, and Possessor, I probably would watch it. But, I probably would have until Jim mentioned that he wouldn't show Amber it, and he loves and cares about Amber. So it's...
Well, I'm supposed to. I think she might like it. I don't know. It's just a weird one. Because I kind of picked it up, and then I bought it, and I bought Relic as well, because I've heard Mark Kermode talking quite a bit about it. And it's a slow burn. It's a very different type of horror film. It's a slow burn. It's very kind of Eastern it's very kind of Japanese in its kind of style. It would remind me a lot of something like Dark Water or something like The Grudge. Have you, Joe? I'm looking kind of seeing you not. Have you seen Relic?
Oh yeah, I watched it last year. It was one of my favorite films of last year. I just thought it was fantastic. Just at how it looks at the whole idea of dementia through like the lens of horror. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a tough watch at times. Maybe because dementia is something that kind of close with history with my family. I find some of it really tough, but I wouldn't say it's like if you're there looking or expecting something like The Conjuring, that's not what you're going to get with this film. And the other film I'd throw in at this point would be Saint Maud, which I've seen, picked it up and just thought it was absolutely amazing. But one of the last times I got to the cinema before they locked down, just because Saint Maud was out, I'm trying to remember. I think Saint Maud was out in kind of February. It was just kind of like the first or the second lockdown. We'd just come out of lockdown, and then we were shortly going into the second one, or the circuit breaker, I think it was called here. And the only downside for me for watching Saint Maud, and I don't know what it would be like, did any of you get to see it in a cinematic setting?
I did, yeah. I got to see it in the cinema.
No, I'm going to imagine you saw it in your lovely Bristol Independent Cinema.
I did, yes.
So you got to watch it, Kate, with a proper cinema-going audience?
Yeah, it was deathly quiet.
Now, Kate, you'll remember on the last time I think we had you on the podcast, I can't remember, was it Scary Stories?
To Tell in the Dark, yeah.
And we had quite possibly one of the worst cinema audiences ever at the Odeon. And feel free, go back and search that podcast. There's bread being thrown, all that's discussed. It was a memorable experience for all the wrong reasons. I had a similar experience watching Saint Maud. Again, I'm a sucker. What can I say? I've got my Odeon Limitless card. They help us out. They give us a space when things were normal where we could record for free as long as we mentioned the Odeon. So they suckered me in, and that's why I'm there. And that's because I've got the Limitless card. And I knew I should have went to see it at the QFT or the Strand where it would be a proper audience. But no, I got an audience that expected it to be, The Conjuring, jump scare. And that's not what it was. It was such a brilliant film. I absolutely loved Joe. Darren. Well, have you read about it in Wikipedia?
The Relic or Saint Maud or Relic?
Maud.
No, I haven't.
Okay, I'm just expecting you're going to frantically, while we're on this Zoom recording, just kind of sneakily go onto Wikipedia. Just read all about Saint Maud. Again, it's not a jump scare.
I'll add it to the reading list. I'll add it to the reading list.
Joe, have you got round to seeing Saint Maud?
I have, yeah. I only watched it there a few weeks ago, but yeah, absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
It's a very A24 film, if that makes sense. Because that studio definitely has their own style and whatever, but Saint Maud definitely fits in that mold. But I just love a good psychological horror, and it ticked all the boxes for me.
Yeah, I know it won't be Amber's cup of tea, so I think I've rewatched it since it came out. I'm hoping to actually speak to one of the producers at some point. Or we may have missed the boat on that for a kind of interview, but we'll have to wait and see. But I would definitely recommend. There's 3 films we've mentioned in the first 10 minutes of this Rambly pod. If you like your horror, but you don't just want, jump scare, all that kind of stuff, where your composer's doing all your scares. Those are 3 films we would definitely recommend. Joe, Darren, what have you been watching?
I've been we got the BritBox subscription following over Christmas. Remember, I got the message for the group from Biggins, and he mentioned he was going to be in BritBox. So I was like, I have to check this out. And I've just been watching all the sort of films through there, a lot of British films that I've maybe never seen before, or sort of stuff I catch up with. And there's some really good ones that I hadn't seen. I watched My Name is Joe recently, the Ken Loach film, 1996. It was fantastic.
I was really tempted to do a joke there and go, no, your name is Darren. His name is Joe.
No,
but
I had this all prepared, and then I learned that Joe was going to be on this, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to go for a different film. So, but yeah, no, it was really good. Sexy Beast as well. And then I realized Joe was again on this show again, so I can't even use the film Sexy Beast. But yeah, it's great BritBox. I think it's it pulls all the BBC iPlayer and sort of like 4OD and everything pulled into that. Yeah, but just been watching a lot of British stuff, and then obviously I've been sort of been drip fed WandaVision every week, but I haven't listened to the WandaVision show that we put out because I don't want to know any theories or spoilers until it's over. That's the only thing I can spoil horror for myself all day long, but when it comes to anything Marvel or anything like that, I'd rather be there and sort of know what's going on. But it's strange. It's sort of taking me back to like days when I remember watching Lost in school, on that weekly basis, and like theorizing and thinking of stuff. So it's good to sort of feel that again, like that sort of connection getting us through everything. But other than that, just been going through iPlayer stuff. Like I watched Beautiful Boy, the Steve Carell movie. Yeah. It was good in parts. I could see what they were trying to do, but if you're thinking of like a film with addiction, I would definitely recommend My Name is Joe over Beautiful Boy. Definitely a completely different tone, but I think it really captured the subject a lot better.
Joe, my biggest problem, and I think I can't remember if it was on this podcast or if it was on the TV show, but have you all seen Beautiful Boy? Steve Carell, and I can never pronounce his name, Timothy
Chalamet.
Edward Scissorhands Jr. I can't remember if it was on the podcast or the TV show, because I got really annoyed at Beautiful Boy because I think it's a good film. It has, what it's trying to do, but there's a sequence in it where I find is just emotional pornography on the scale of Marley and Me. And if you've seen Marley and Me, it's the sequence, sorry, listeners, viewers, if you haven't seen it, where unfortunately the dog has to be put to sleep. And having had to do that myself a couple of times over the years with dogs, we're down to just one dog at my mum and dad's house now. I find that tough, and I find that like basically kind of saying to you, if you don't cry, if you don't have an emotional response to that sequence, you're a bad person. And there's a sequence in Beautiful Boy with the son having an overdose, and I find it exactly the same sequence, and I just was like, no, this is just emotional pornography. You're trying to force an emotional response from me where you've actually had one. You've had one from me. I'm emotionally on board with you. And this is like, right, you're coming in with the subtlety of a sledgehammer, smashing it down. And it's like, right, if you don't weep for this young boy, you're a bad person. And you know what? I was probably a bad person because I got annoyed more than anything. But there's a couple of things that I do want to mention, Darren, I pick up from you before I go on to Joe. BritBox, I haven't taken the plunge for BritBox just yet. I did at the very start, and it was poor. I didn't find there that much in terms of content. So would you recommend, I don't know if any of the rest of you got BritBox, would any of you recommend it for kind of, I don't know what it is, $5.99 or whatever it is a month? Other streaming services are of course available.
Yeah, well, there is a lot of stuff. It's mainly like a lot of 80s and 90s ITV stuff that you get on. I think people are really oddly into that stuff to find appealing, but a lot of the other shows, the main sort of bulk of the BBC shows are available on Netflix and on iPlayer anyway, but I got it with a trial. I didn't seek it out or anything. And as you said, it is poor looking at it, but I just like it that I can watch films without adverts. That's basically and the collections are good. Sometimes you go in and see like a collection from like a director or an actor, and it pieces it all together nicely. But I'm yet to find that perfect streaming service. All of them have their faults, especially like 4OD doesn't remember what you've watched. Amazon is a nightmare to search. Netflix is good, but sometimes you watch something and it'll suggest something completely off topic, so we're yet, I can't believe in 2021 we're yet to find that perfect algorithm that just works. But anyway,
Darren, I
digressed.
I think, Darren, you have just, in a nutshell, just perfectly described and summarized the definition of a middle class problem. If ever there was something there that was just like, I just can't find the right shit for OD. Sorry, first world problems. That's kind of not middle class, but first world problems. That's what that is.
Yeah.
I do want to come to this, but I haven't seen the latest episode, so don't spoil it if anybody has. And there might be people who are watching or listening to this that haven't seen any of WandaVision yet. I know kind of the podcast that we did with Aaron wasn't so much about theories. It was more about kind of reading suggestions for people who want to, like, if they like the characters of Wanda and they like the characters of Vision, a little bit about their comic book history and some recommended reads. I know House of M is one that gets bandied about a lot for WandaVision. But if any of you have been watching, other than Darren, watching WandaVision on a weekly basis, and are you enjoying the weekly nature of it? Because so many people throughout lockdown, I think of stuff like The Boys, were in uproar about this, the fact that I just want to binge it all in one day, and it's my right to be able to do that. And I've resisted on anything, even Cobra Kai. I think we're going to finish Cobra Kai season 3 on Sunday. We haven't allowed ourselves to binge on it. We've done an episode a week because I actually prefer that. That the good old days, back in the days when it was watching the X-Files, it was whatever night it was, Tuesday or Wednesday night, sitting up to 9 o'clock and then watching it with friends, talking about it with friends in school. But, generally, any of you, a couple of things before I come to you, Joe, about what you've been watching. Are you enjoying that weekly nature of the release schedule of stuff? Or are you a binger? Or are any of you really into WandaVision?
Any WandaVision yet, but I think it's good to have something that you can pace yourself with, something to look forward to every week. That would be, there's nothing really that I've watched that's been released weekly, but I think it's healthy to have some pace.
But when you binge on something, and like, I don't know off the top of my head, like if there's any, or off the top of your head, if there's anything you can think of, if you've just sat down, okay, as I say, we're in lockdown, you're furloughed, you're not having that same routine you would have had before. Mm-hmm. But have you had binger's remorse in anything when you've kind of sat down, binged on something, and then said, oh, I can always rewatch it, but it's done.
Because I think you definitely lose. Because I think the last thing that I properly binged was, I think the start of the first lockdown, Hunters, the Al Pacino, and I binged that, and I don't even remember half of what. Because I think when you watch it all in a condensed space, you don't really. It all kind of blurs into one. And you don't really remember what's happening, or maybe that's just me, just being.
No, I totally agree. I think actually. Like, for instance, like Cobra Kai season 3, I've enjoyed much more than season 2. Season 2, I think I binged in probably 3 days. I watched maybe less, 2 days. I watched season 2, and there's not a lot other than kind of the final moments and maybe a few moments in between. But season 3, I just think it's a slightly better season. There's much more of it I can remember than season 2. But Joe, what about you? I mean, on the ghost threads that we talked about, first world problems of the perfect streaming service. We have, are you a binger? Do you have binger's remorse? Do you prefer to phase things out? Or WandaVision? I think that's all the kind of rambly things we've got so far.
I know. I think when it comes to like the whole binge or weekly argument, I think binging kind of works if something's a mini-series and it's sort of basically like a 6-hour film when it's all, only split into 6 parts. But if it's a series, then I think it's much better having it weekly. Like, the last time I remember, like, I know there's obviously WandaVision in that, but the last time I really enjoyed something, and couldn't wait for the next week for it to arrive was Twin Peaks: The Return. Mm. Like, I was like, literally every Monday, you're just sitting there going, oh, come on, hurry up. I need to know what's going to happen next. And then obviously in the same sort of respect as WandaVision, you theorizing what's happening, what's this character doing, what's this about, and what's the meaning of this, that, and the other. And knowing David Lynch, half the time it just means nothing. He just thought, he thinks it's interesting, so he put it in there, but bless him for it all the same. But yeah, recently I actually was watching The Stand. And it was released weekly, and I did not like it, but I forced myself to watch it because I love the book so much. And it's not a good adaptation, unfortunately.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, I haven't read the book. I think The Stand is one of those books I've tried to read a couple of times. There's a few Stephen King novels that are just too dense, and The Stand is definitely, from memory, one of them. And
yeah, it's 1,200 pages.
I struggle with it, and I kind of have, but I think that's maybe kind of rose-tinted glasses of youth. I fond-ish memories of the really crap TV series, the straight-to-TV movie that was out a bit like It, that was out many
better.
Yeah, I have a fondness for that. Okay, I didn't like their adaptation of the Tommyknockers, but then I don't really love the Tommyknockers as an adaptation. I'm trying to think, like, we've tried to avoid binging and stuff, although when it comes to me talking about what I've watched, which I'll come to in a minute, because I've just realized, Joe, we haven't really, other than The Stand, you know, what else have we let you watch? Or what not we let you watch?
You let me watch?
Yeah. What will I let you watch? Every week I let you kind of say, right, you can watch this. No,
past your bedtime.
Yeah, go to bed, Joe. You've work in the morning, you've got to go out. But what have you been watching?
I want to watch it. But a mixture of everything, really. See, I've sort of downloaded Letterboxed at the start of the year to help me like come up with watch lists and stuff. Because I'm always that person who somebody recommends something's like, oh, you have to watch this, and then within half an hour I've forgotten it. Whereas like with Letterboxd, at least I could just like record it on my watch list. So I've been watching just a random mixture of everything. But one thing that sort of stood out more than anything, I finally got around to watching American Utopia, and it's just fantastic. Because when I watched it, I was sort of in a bit of a glum mood, just with lockdown blues and that there, and that was the perfect remedy. Like within the first 10 minutes or so, big smile on my face, and then about halfway through it, I was literally up out of my chair dancing along with it. Not a care in the world, and it was just fantastic. But usually my watching habits would sort of revolve around Shudder, because anyway, they usually have a horror film every week, a brand new one. It's been very missed lately, unfortunately. Like the last one was a film called The Nightmare Wakes, which is about Mary Shelley coming up with the idea of Frankenstein, but it's just so bad how they paint Shelley in it. She's just like this, you know, quivering mess who's always subservient to her husband, and I'm just watching it going, that's not like one of the greatest like science fiction horror writers of all time. She surely wasn't like that. And then obviously when you read up about her, she wasn't like that. And I was sitting there, I was just constantly going, I hate this film so much. I hate everything about it. But I'm going to sit and watch it all anyway, because I'm always of the view you can't really say anything bad about something unless you've watched it the whole way through. But
I have to hold my hand up. I've give up Shudder, and it wasn't that I'd kind of fallen out. It's just a case that it was like when you kind of look around January time, you go, right, where can I cut corners and stuff? Where can I save a little bit of money? And I decided I cut Shudder. Although now in February I've already kind of subscribed to the Arrow VOD service, which is just launched, and it has a really kind of impressive back catalogue as well. They have a Lars von Trier season. If you're on our website, you can see, because we got the press release about it and kind of put it up on the website of the content they have in February. And it's a real kind of mixed bag. I've already watched Audition again, just because I wanted to really kind of terrify myself. And
yeah.
Had to do it, Jim, sorry. It's just a hand gesture of the wire, sorry.
It's not that, like, we were talking about this because someone put up on Twitter, you know, show a still of a horror film that absolutely terrifies you. And the still from Audition that terrifies me is just the secret. It's not the same, or it's the scene in Audition where your man, I've forgotten his name, apologies. Finally, he decides to phone the girl that he thinks it's going to be the girl of his dreams. She kind of came out of nowhere. She's entered this competition to be his partner. And you see the phone ringing, and you see her just sitting down on the floor with a big bag, big sack. We'll not go into what's in the sack. That's not even the terrifying bit. And it's just the smile on her face when the phone rings. And as I always say, it's like the Venus flytrap. he's caught, and it's all downhill from there. And that just sends a shudder down my spine. But I would recommend Arrow. So what I saved by giving up Shudder, I'm now spending on Arrow's VOD services. I've been weird though with movies. I haven't watched too many movies. And my lovely wife watched Shawshank Redemption. She'd never seen it before. I kind of said this on a previous podcast. It's like, how have you not scrolled past ITV2 at like 10 o'clock or 9:30 on a random night and just found, oh, there we go, there's Shawshank Redemption. That's what's one of those films, no matter where it is, might be the last 5 minutes of it or the last 10 or the first, I don't know, whatever. I'll always end up sitting. It's like Jaws, no matter what point you come in, I'll always end up sitting and watching it. And we watched that and she thoroughly enjoyed that. But thinking about binging, because we have been kind of limiting ourselves out. The only thing we really binged was the Nightcrawler documentary that was on Netflix, because Amber's much more of a serial killer fan than I am. I know, Joe, we're talking to one half of the Sleuth Sisters, so I don't know if you've seen this or not yet. But I'm kind of serial killer stuff at the minute. It's not for me because it depresses me. I rather would have the focus on police work and all that kind of stuff to catch guys. And I know that some documentaries do that. But when I find the focus too much on the killer, it just really, really sends me into depression, and I need to watch the Muppets. That's what I need. I just need an injection of the Muppets. But we binged that. I think there's only 3-4 episodes, and they're about just over an hour in length. And we just sat one evening and put one on, then put 2 on, and then we put 3 because they know how to finalize the episode. They know how to leave you wanting more. And I would recommend it if you're into that type of thing. I just find it really depressing. Joe, I'm guessing is this one half of the Sleuth Sisters. Have you seen it yet?
No, but I know about the Ramirez case.
Of course you do.
Of course you do. But I was going to say there, you need your dose of Muppets after it. And I know we've gone into this conversation before in the past, but what you need is for an adaptation of Seven where it's just the Muppets. But you're allowed to have the one human character like we always say. So it's always Ricky Gervais. It's always going to be Ricky Gervais. It always has to come back.
No, sorry, Ricky Gervais or Morgan Freeman. That's what it'll give you.
Wait, Ricky Gervais isn't in Seven.
No, I don't care.
Is he slothing it?
If we're hang on, Kermit the Frog isn't in Seven, so we're recasting and remake it. We can have
Kermit's Brad Pitt's character, right? And unfortunately, Miss Piggy's head is in the box.
Yeah,
you're keeping Morgan Freeman there, or if you want to switch it about, you could have Fozzie Bear in that role.
No, Fozzie Bear's got to be Kevin Spacey.
Oh, John Doe.
Yeah, got to be.
Yeah.
Who's the human character then?
Morgan Freeman.
Yeah,
Morgan
that's
Freeman.
If you
the actual Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to think the poor fella who is the killer for Lust in it. Like, what Muppet would you use in that instance? Like Swedish Chef.
Beaker.
Can I just talk about this actually? Because my wife one night, we were looking for something to put on and we just needed something upbeat. So she went on Disney Plus. Of course, other streaming services are available. And I think it was the Muppets Take Manhattan. We're on me. I adore the Muppets. I genuinely adore the Muppets. I'm not sure because I got disappointed early this year whenever I found out that Dinosaurs was meant to be coming to Disney Plus, but unfortunately it didn't come to us here in the UK. I don't know. You're all looking at me blankly, so I don't know if you know.
Not the mama.
I'm talking to people and they don't know about it, what it is. And I'm like, I absolutely love this. And I'm worried about rewatching it in case I hate it. But I know that early this year, Disney announced that the first 5 seasons of The Muppet Show is coming to Disney Plus. And I'm just kind of going, please let this happen, because I will just happily. That is just what I need. A warm hug I need if there's a further lockdown or the restrictions go on, that will get me through it, I think. But I'm worried now that it might only be the American Disney Plus. It might just not be all the Disney Plus all the kind of services around the world. But I was talking to Amber about this, and I've only noticed when we were watching The Muppets Take Manhattan that Swedish Chef is a Muppet, but he has human hands. I've never noticed this before, and it freaks me out. It's like all the other Muppets have you have the look, Joe, of someone who's just had his mind blown. But in all the Muppet movies, I'm kind of watching, kind of going, the Swedish Chef, when he's there and he's kind of going, the Swedish chicken. And it's like these human hands are just kind of, because of course he needs to grab things and he needs to kind of hold knives and stuff.
Sorry,
I
I'm
think-
googling.
He has human hands.
I
He
know,
has-
this,
check
I know
this.
this is a ramble, but my search history has just went crazy this last half hour, right? So it started off Googling like chat up lines for clowns, right? And now I just literally Googled Swedish hands.
Oh,
What?
it's not working.
Swedish.
Oh, we can't see it. It's too
Oh, no,
bright.
it's-
Tap your
bright.
phone screen,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Swedish human hands.
Yeah, it's Swedish human hands.
Sure,
I know
sure.
I know it's not great sort of radio, but
Yeah,
there.
Oh my goodness.
he has hands.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. It is terrifying. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So I kind of think, we're watching Muppets, but very, very quickly we were watching that, and after kind of watching Night Stalker, we decided to kind of binge on a series to cheer us up. And my God, I am so sorry. It's taken me so long to finally fall in love with The American Office, but I properly did. I properly have fallen in love with the charm of Michael Scott. That's what she said. And we just finished it. And yeah, look, I cry at the best of times I cry at a lot of things, during stuff. And season 7, sorry if you haven't seen it, spoiler, when Michael leaves and then Pam runs out to see him when you think that they're not going to get, I full on had a blub. And then when someone reappears in the finale, I had a proper blub. I just absolutely, because I have to hold my hand up and say, for too long, I watched a bit like Parks and Rec. I watched the first series, didn't get it, and just went, with Parks and Rec, I just didn't find it funny the first season. But the first season of The American Office went, you're just redoing what they did before with the British one. I think it's really only about season 2, maybe the end of season 2, start of season 3, it really found its own feet. And my God, did it. And I just have fallen in love. And I've already said to Amber, kind of go in the last couple of days, I'd go like, I miss Michael. At what point can we go back and rewatch The American Office? Like, no, it's too soon. It's too soon. It's like, but we watched like Brooklyn Nine-Nine every night, and now Amber's in an emotional place where now we know it's finishing later this year when it comes out. It's finishing for good. She's like, but we watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine all the time and Friends all the time. Well, that's different. It's like, no, I really want to watch. My two heroes, I think we're going to do a podcast about this at some point, are lockdown cinematic heroes. Okay, I know The Office isn't cinematic, and I know Parks and Rec, but Ron Swanson and Michael Scott, and to an extent more cinematically, Leslie Nielsen in the Naked Gun movies have definitely in this January one, more so than anything, have got me through lockdown. They've definitely been the pick-me-ups I've needed. But I really went off on a ramble. Kate, it's up to you now to pick up and decide where we go to next.
Me?
Yeah.
I think just thinking about Letterboxed, I enjoy looking through the lists of like the user-created list. I was thinking when you mentioned there, Joe, trying to get your watch list together, and I end up just going through a rabbit hole of all these user-made lists of like Jake Gyllenhaal films ranked by how much I would trust him with my pet dog. Or like trying to think of my other, I make lists as well of like,
Do you make lists, Kate, as abstract as that though?
maybe not as abstract as that. I've made ones, let me think, films that have the best dads. I think that was one that I made. I used to make these in QFT when I worked just on box office, just making these lists.
Hang on, you've got to tell us, you've got to talk us through some of those. You don't have to, maybe you won't remember them all, but give us, a hit list, some of the ones that are there that are featured. Like best dad. All right, well, while Kate does that, Darren, shoot off the top of your head, best cinematic dad.
I don't know.
Well, I know Willem Dafoe and Antichrist.
Oh my god. I think off the top of my head, I remember I've got Jaws in it.
Are you talking about the actual shark being the best dad? Because that's technically a mother.
He was just trying to look after his shark babies.
Mhm.
Let me see. Oh, 8th grade. I have that. If anyone's seen
Yeah.
8th grade. Let me see. Yeah, Jaws. Finding Nemo. He was just trying to find wee Nemo. Train to Busan.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's a good arc. Yeah, he starts off as an asshole,
Mhm.
but he's a great dad. Yeah.
Yeah, I was sobbing by the end. That's also on my Made Me Ugly Cry film list.
Oh god.
Why are we only going down? We've been, let me see how long we've got. I've lost the timer here. Hang on. We've got 35 minutes. We could just spend 35 minutes going through this list now.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong, and there's nothing wrong with a good ugly cry.
Oh, I love it.
I watched
Cathartic.
the Big Sick recently, and Ray Romano. As the
Yes,
dad.
that's also on my list.
Yeah, he's great.
It's a good shout.
What else? Oh, Taken.
Yeah.
Oh, Life is Beautiful, also on my ugly cry list. What else here? Call Me by Your Name. Just for that one scene of Michael Stuhlbarg's inspirational speech.
Is the dad from Society in that list? No, because you know that's kind of one I'm thinking of.
He's a butthead.
I have to add that one actually. Yeah, any recommendations, please?
Nancy's dad in Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm probably thinking better for. I had one in my head actually while you were talking, and it has went out of my head in terms of best.
Laura Palmer's father in Twin Peaks.
Oh no!
Walk with me.
Oh no!
I keep going down the dark path. I need to stop.
Okay. You know, if you're going for the ugly cry, I think top of the list for me is probably going to be Inside Out every time.
Yeah.
Every time. It happened to me again at Christmas or just over Christmas. That kind of what normally would have been the Twilight Zone, but now the entire year has pretty much been the Twilight Zone. Normally between Christmas and New Year, Amber and I just had a blanket day and we sat and watched. I think it was Paddington 2, which I have I have a proper blood at every time. And then Inside Out came out. And it's that thing. It's like, I don't know whether I just kind of force myself into it or I force myself to cry, but it's just that sense of like, you just know, it's like, I know I'm going to get emotional at this. I know I'm going to get emotional at this. And then it happens and it's not a pretty sight. What was the other one? What was the Tim Burton? Big Fish?
Big Fish. Yeah. I rewatched that a couple of weeks ago. My God. And I sobbed my eyes out at that every time.
I'll never dry out. Just gone. And it was that thing. I didn't actually think I was giving the film my full attention because I was prepping for a TV show and doing a few bits and bobs at the same time and watching. I think we were watching it for the TV show and I was preparing the script. Shock. There is apparently a script for the TV show. Lies, I know. But doing bits and bobs, and then I didn't think it was giving him my full attention. And just that sequence came up, and I properly kind of. I'm still trying to think of dads. Arnie in Terminator 2, kind of.
Yeah, he's like the best father he never really had. Like, and it was a machine. There you go. No, he is. He's perfect.
Oh, but True Romance. Dennis Hopper. I thought that was good dad energy.
Okay.
Yeah. Mrs. Doubtfire.
Is he though?
He manipulated his.
Is he though? Like, I mean, when you really think about it, is he though? I love Robin Williams as much as anybody else. It still hurts me to think that man is no longer with us. But like Alan Rickman, but Mrs. Doubtfire, is he though? Is he not just a bit of a creep dad? You know, I think that's going to be my list. But top 10 creep dads.
Oh, that's another list. I've got to make that.
Just taking it to new bits.
Hang on, we haven't even went there. You know, what about Jim's dad in American Pie?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
He's good, but he gives the worst advice.
Yeah.
But you know, how many times has poor old Eugene Levy gotta, you know, you can't trust his son to leave out his pie. You know, leave out the apple pie. You can't leave it out. It's all right. He knows. He's cool. These, I think we're just going to use these from kind of. I think this is what we'll use in the rambles. We'll just find a random Letterboxed list and just kind of go with it on a tangent and talk for now. I think that's the best way. Darren, have you thought of any just before we kind of move on to an extent in the ramble?
No, I can't really think of any. I'm trying to think of myself what makes a good dad, and you know, obviously love and sort of affection and everything, but just one that doesn't give you much hassle. I'm just trying to think, was there any dads in films that they're just there? Like, I sort of think, is that film, is it The Elephant and the Whale or something with, what do you call him? He's in Dumb and Dumber.
Jeff Daniels?
Yeah, Jeff Daniels in that movie. He plays like a dad who's trying to reconnect with his sons, and he just can't be bothered. I like that type of dad. Well,
you watched Beautiful Boy. Is Steve Carell going on that list?
It's already on the list.
Yeah. He is a good dad, but it's just a real gobshite of a son that sort of lets him into that. So...
I'm trying to think. I had another one again. It just went out of my head.
I have a good one. Logan.
Oh,
Hugh Jackman and that.
Great show.
Yeah.
That's going on the list.
That's another ugly cry by when it gets that ending. And no, I'm not going into it because I'm actually going to start welling up thinking about it.
Do you know what?
I haven't watched it in a while.
It's not actually that sequence that breaks my heart. It's one of the best uses of a needle drop of music at the credits. Isn't that Johnny Cash?
When the Man Comes Around?
Yeah, boom,
Mhm.
gone. And I was literally just kind of like, no. Because I think in the trailers they used Hurt, I think,
Yeah.
they used Hurt, and I was like, they clearly had, I think there must have been a decision at one point. They were like, we'll use that, and maybe, I don't know, but they're like, maybe it's just too much. Maybe it's just too much. It's too far. Maybe venturing into emotional pornography. So they changed to that song. I don't know. This is all conjecture on my behalf, but yeah, I just think that's the great needle drops in cinematic history. Anything else, guys? Joe, Darren, anything you've been watching? I know we were kind of talking in the little WhatsApp group. We have the casting for the Last of Us, which I thought was a movie, but it's actually, I think, a TV series. That's going HBO. We're doing it. If anybody can do it, HBO can. But I don't know. I'm not enthused because I thought originally it was going to be its own thing. It's like something set in that world, but I think it's just going to be a blow by blow retread of the game.
See, I was thinking that, and then I also got thinking, what other films are like in alleged production that, obviously with like Metal Gear Solid, The Last of Us, they are narrative games that have a plot and story, but it's whenever they're actually thinking about making a film based on Tetris or Hungry Hungry Hippos, like who comes up with the idea for the plot of these games and be like, right, let's make a movie.
Darren, they made a film based in Battleship, so they can do whatever they want.
Here, it worked with Lego Movie.
Yeah,
who would have thought you can make a good movie with Lego? But there you go.
It didn't work with Adam Sandler and what was his version of Space Invaders?
Pixels.
Ooh, that's a pretty bad film. But I don't know. I don't know, Kate, Joe, I know you're a gamer, Darren, but are you gamers at all into that kind of thing? Any kind of thing? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
So
The Last of Us, yeah.
So because I was guessing on a pod this week and we were talking about, they had me on to talk about the supposed high moments of video game adaptations, and the three that they picked, feel free to see what you think. So they picked the first Resident Evil movie.
Okay.
A few moments,
questionable.
Yeah.
The moment I said it in the podcast, I'll say it here. The moment in the kind of with the lasers and the kind of hallway scene and everything's kind of coming in to and fro and this, that, and the other, they're trying to get into the room, I think is great. The other ones that they picked was the first Hitman movie, which is pretty bad. I think I categorically seen that.
No.
There's two of them. There's two of them and they're not great. And the last one they picked was the Silent Hill movie, which again, I wasn't a massive fan of that as a movie. I love the game. I absolutely love the game. The game's, we're talking about kind of, piece of art that's kind of exceeding what it should be. Silent Hill's up there. But would you want a Last of Us film that pretty much just retreads everything? Would you not find yourself sitting there kind of going, I've played this?
Yeah, because it's so cinematic in itself. You feel like you're part of of a film, an interactive film almost. So I really wouldn't be super fussed on seeing a film because I already know what the plot is, and that would be. I wouldn't be too fussed on seeing it.
But you haven't played it, Joe, so you would actually quite like to see a movie.
See, that's why I kind of want to see it, because it's for like non-gamer crowds who would just want that sort of element to it, the storytelling and whatnot. I kind of liken it. I know it's not a complete comparison, but it's like a book adaptation in a way. I've never seen it in this medium, so I wonder what they're going to do, because I honestly don't think they're going to do a blow by blow of the video game. They can't, because there's too much expectation to be the exact same. But I think they'll take broad ideas and whatnot, and they'll sort of change them about a little bit, but not too much to sort of alienate the fan base. And they'll take it from there. But I am actually really looking forward to it, especially with Pedro Pascal cast in the lead, because I think he's bloody fantastic in everything he's been in.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great bit of casting. They have got it seems like they've got the casting right. They seem to just love Game of Thrones. Like, I think maybe when Last of Us came out, everybody just wanted Maisie Williams to play the role of the younger girl. I've completely forgotten her name.
Is it Ellie?
Ellie, yeah, the role of Ellie. And I was kind of saying on the podcast, I was talking about video game adaptation. Like, I'm not ready to play The Last of Us Part 2. I don't think I'm in an emotional place with lockdown and stuff. I don't want that type of stuff. I mean, I really want to play it, but I just don't think I'm in an emotional place to play it right now, because The Last of Us was tough. And I'm not quite ready to go. Like, the opening part of The Last of Us was tough enough for me, and I don't even like thinking about it again. Jesus, no, I don't.
It's harrowing.
It's tough. I don't know, because I've done all those tiers for the game. I don't know if I'll have those same tiers. I could be wrong. I'm talking about something that hasn't been made, so it's all kind of, again, to use my word for the night on the Zoom call, it's conjecture. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know. Like, no, Darren, you mentioned Metal Gear Solid. I just don't know how the hell they're going to work that into as a movie. When you think of where that narrative went to, how bonkers and kind of how heavily inspired by Japanese anime it is. Okay, I think we'd all love to see Oscar Isaacs as Solid Snake, but I also don't know if I want to see him as Liquid Snake or Solidus Snake, all that stuff. It's just too bonkers.
He just has to hide in a box for 2 hours, okay? That's all I want. It's the only aspect of the game I love so much. Maybe smoke the odd cigarette in the box, but that's about it.
Yeah, and then he's going to have to show up as Big Boss. It's just too confuddling. I don't know.
It's a good job to get. If you get that part, you at least come back for every film going forward as some form of Snake, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just be copied and pasted into every film. But I guess, I remember my first memory of Metal Gear is playing, like, one of the first games I've ever played, and I guess, like a book, when you're reading a book, you're obviously creating that idea of a character in your head, whereas in a video game, you're kind of showing that character. So I can see that being a difference when you see it on screen. It's going to have to look and feel exactly like the game you've played, and not like the Tomb Raider films with Rimmer from Red Dwarf as the butler, or... Trying to think what I can't believe that podcast never talked about the Bob Hoskins Super Mario Brothers film. Like, how wrong was that? That was completely off. But maybe that sort of film, you look at the Nolan Batman films, everything was just being darkened down for a few years. Would that Mario Brothers film have fit in? Imagine they did that with Sonic last year. Sonic is like a sort of noir style, gothic horror film, where Sonic's actually an emo or something, They
kind of did it with Detective Pikachu. They kind of went down the noir route.
Yeah.
I think I said that. I think for me so far, Detective Pikachu's probably been the best adaptation. I think off the top of my head, I can really think of. I know people like the Silent Hill movie, but I think Detective Pikachu, for looking at its source material, now I've been told. But this is me being a complete hypocrite, because I know Jess Blair, who we had on at the time. I think it might have been. I know you reviewed it for us, Darren, on the website. I don't know if you were on the TV show talking about it at the same time as Jess. Jess pretty much said she knew it was a blow-by-blow retread of the game. I went into that knowing absolutely nothing. Yeah, I think it's a bit light-hearted. It's a bit fluffy. I don't think it's perfect. I think it loses itself in its finale, but I really liked it, and I do think it's probably one of the better video game adaptations. But that's probably me being the equivalent of Joe, having not played it, not having any expectations, and just being able to go over and let it wash over me. I think for something like Metal Gear Solid, and even to an extent, the Last of Us, it's probably always going to be like the issue I have with like books like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And when you see the TV series that it's done, it was off its time, there's a charm to it. But the movie that they made was just atrocious and terrible and horrible. And you're just sitting there watching it in the cinema seat, remember them, and kind of going, no, you're not my Zaphod Beeblebrox. You're not my Arthur Dent. That's not what I want, Ford Prefect to be like. That's not how he was in my head. So, yeah, I think it's just, you bring... your emotional place when you're going in to watch something. I don't know. I mean, it could be great. It could be the next Lego movie. I don't know. I just don't think it will be.
Yeah. It'll definitely not be up there with Street Fighter, though. I think we can all agree on that. I won't take any Street Fighter slander in this podcast, by the way. No. Like, I'm being deadly serious. I love that film so much.
How much of that is rose-tinted glasses, though, Joe?
No, what my love for it is just for how over the top and knowingly stupid it is. Because just look at Raul Julia's performance in it. Like, it's his last film performance, and he knew he was down at the time. So he was like, you know what, friggin', I'm just going to have fun with this and give it my all. And it shows. Like, there's that speech, where he talks about going into some girl's village. It's like, for you, it was the worst day of your life. For me, it was just Tuesday. Like, the way he delivers that line, it's just fantastic. And he just really embraces that role as Bison, and I do have a lot of love for it. And
I have a soft spot for
recently.
it, but I'm guilty. Like when I went back at lockdown just before Christmas and rewatched the Mortal Kombat movie, which I used to love when I was younger, and I kind of go, oh no, this is not as much fun as I remember. I don't know, this feels weird, feels awkward, this is not much as fun. I don't know if you've had that experience with something you loved when you were younger and then went back and watched it and kind of went, oh no.
You know what actually did happen at the weekend? Maximum Overdrive. I gave it a go again. You know, the Stephen King film?
You can't hate Maximum Overdrive.
No, I didn't hate it. I was just like, why did I love it so much? You know, like the whole idea of sentient trucks and everything, like it's a lot of fun, but it does like run out of steam after a certain point. You're just like, okay, like are we getting towards the end?
But Joe, Stephen King was coked out of his head when he made it. Like all you've got to do is look at the trailer for it. If you find yourself falling out of love with Maximum Overdrive, if you've never seen it, wait till this podcast is over and go and seek out on YouTube the trailer for Maximum Overdrive. It might be a teaser trailer, but it's basically Stephen King looking pretty much like, and I think he openly admits this, he was coked out of his head, just kind of talk about, if you thought everybody else was good at adapting my source material, my books, imagine what I'm going to do. I'm going to scare the hell out of you. Okay, I'm not looking straight at the camera, but he's looking straight down the barrel of the lens. I don't have the gravitas of Stephen King's delivery, but
he's brilliant in Creep, and he's brilliant in Creepshow. Don't put him down.
I love
Creepshow. Can act.
Funny, on that note, actually, I don't know where I've got it. I know I finally got my copy. I'll see if I can find. I'm looking forward to watching this. I just need 4.5 hours on my own, because I know Amber won't watch it. If I can find it behind me, I finally got my In Search of Darkness Part 2. So I'm looking forward to watching that and then getting to the very end and freeze framing to see where my name is, because I was one of the foolish ones that kind of sponsored it or crowdfunded it, whatever it is. But what can I say? The Dark Ages, we spoke to the director and he kind of suckered me in. So I ended up watching the first one and then went away and straight away bought Heart of Darkness Part 2. If you're into your 80s horror, the first one's on Shudder, isn't it still, Joe?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's like 4 hours as well, but it's worth it.
4 hours just kind of floats by, and In Search of Darkness Part 2. I don't think it's on Shudder just yet. It's just out in Blu-ray, but I'm really looking forward to watching this. So look, we are sitting now at just around with 17 minutes. So I think, bar, if anybody, anything else, any major bit of news, any major bit of kind of movie watching or TV watching they've done over the last kind of, month or so, I should say, now is the time to speak or forever hold your peace.
But I've got something for all of you based on recent news, right? Face Off is being remade, and I think Adam Wingard doing it.
It's not remade, it's a sequel.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Still the same idea is there, right? Who would you cast in the two roles? Like you have Nicolas Cage and John Travolta in the original, but which two actors working today would you go for those roles?
Kermit and Fuzzy Bear.
We can't always do Muppet films. You can maybe do a Sesame Street one, okay?
I would do Mark and Jeremy from Peep Show, but have them play the exact characters, Mark and Jeremy from Peep Show.
That would be amazing, actually. That's fantastic.
Like, that's amazing.
What is he doing?
You just picture so many different scenarios in your head, like. Oh, yeah. But, what about you, Jim? Who are you going for?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like of a worthy kind of funny one. Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger probably is the one I could really think of. I just want them faced off and just kind of, I want Danny DeVito to be full on Nick Cage levels of villain in the film, and I want Arnie to be kind of the full goody two shoes that was John Travolta. Then I suppose you've got to think, when you think about it, John Travolta then's got to play the bad role. So yeah, it's going to be Danny DeVito's going to be the straight up cop that's going to take him down, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's a villain. I just want to say Arnie, just trying to go for Nick Cage, because I know I was out this morning. A friend of ours had to go to a hospital appointment, so I foolishly agreed to get up at 7 o'clock, and drove him down to the Ulster Hospital. And I was like, right, okay, I'm going to go to General Merchants while he's waiting. Perks of the job. And I was looking on my phone, and it popped up Face Off remake, and you're like, oh no, why? Why remake Face Off? What's the point? It's a perfect piece of cinematic history. And about an hour later, they updated it. I think it's Adam Wingard's directing it.
Yeah.
and he's treating it the way he did his sequel to the Blair Witch. So it is a sequel. It's a follow-on. It's set in the same world. I don't know if we're going to have, well, we'll not have Nick Cage back, but we might have John Travolta back, but I doubt it greatly on both of those.
They can have Nick Cage back. They'll bring in cloning. It's fine. It's fine. It'll work. If they can have face swapping technology, I'm sure they have cloning technology.
So would you rather have Cage back than Travolta back? Or do you just want them both?
Yeah. Well, both preferably if they're both offered in the same sort of spirit of the 90s version, but no, I think it's for the best if they do new actors or actresses in the role.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably, in all honesty, going to be a remake in all but name, but they'll just have some loose connection that lets them say it's a sequel. But I like Adam Wingard. I like him as a filmmaker. You're Next and The Guest are two films I absolutely adore, particularly The Guest, just for its soundtrack. I don't have high hopes for Godzilla versus King Kong, although I think we all must have collectively cheered when we saw that trailer earlier this year.
I did.
Well,
I know I love Godzilla, but even King of Monsters made me go, oh, for freak's sake. This is actually, at times I was like, this is worse than the Roland Emmerich one, because I have a bit of nostalgic love for it. I have a soft spot for Roland Emmerich's Godzilla until I watch it, and then I go, oh no, this is a bad film. Do you know what? Until they get to the little baby Godzillas, that's when it loses me. That's when it's like, right, you're just trying to do what they did with Jurassic Park and the Raptors. But I know a mutual friend of ours, Kate, Richard Davis, has a real soft spot for Godzilla, just for the guy at the very start with the flame. Godzilla. And it's like, what's the line? It's like, you call that collateral damage, I call that the Chrysler Building. It's a great big silly disaster movie, but no, I don't have a lot of love for the last one. And who was the director of that? Because that was another kind of... It's your guy who did the Trick or Treat film. What do you call him? And Krampus. I can't remember his name.
I know who you mean. I know who it is. But it's like, you thought it was a relatively safe pair of hands. I don't know. It'll be buck stupid and silly, but I like Adam Wingard. I even liked his kind of Blair Witch pseudo sequel. I like what it tried to do. I don't think it's perfect in any way. I don't think it replicates the magic of the first, but I don't think it tries to. I don't know. Will your lovely independent cinema in Bristol, Kate, is there a chance that it will be playing Godzilla versus Kong or King Kong versus Godzilla?
Hopefully, even just ironically, that would be fun.
Do you think that's what's going to happen with cinema programmers in the next kind of year when the cinemas finally reopen? They'll just have ironic programming.
Yeah, just to tide them along for a little while.
just everyone, will have The Room. We'll have Rocky Horror every week. All that stuff that people will come out for, just so people get used to coming back to the cinema.
I'm still traumatized after KFT finally showed The Room and did, I think, like 3 or 4 sold out screenings. And
I was at one.
Were you?
I love that film.
Did you throw any spoons? Because if you did,
I am not at liberty to discuss that right now. I require legal representation to discuss.
Hey, Kate, all I can say is that we have finally, BanterFlix, after a lot of to and fro, because Michael Staley was the person from the QFT who pointed me in the direction of who I needed to speak to. We are now authorized by the official kind of peeps that we can do screenings off The Room. So your beloved Strand Art Centre might be picking up some spoons at some point.
As long as it's not me.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be me.
Spoon picking up.
I think it'll probably be, I don't think it'll be Joanna Leach either. She'll just kind of sit. I don't know. It's going to happen at some point. That's all I can say.
It'll be good fun. I remember we had to keep turning up the volume of the film just because you couldn't actually hear the audio, just with the cheering and the laughing, and it just was nothing like I'd ever seen before.
I seen it once at the Prince Charles and just found it a thoroughly enjoyable experience. And the only thing I can say, probably the closest we've ever come, was the night we did Rocky Horror for us, which was just wonderful at the Black Box. And I do find myself looking back at photos of it because we've been doing some stuff with Cinema for All over the last month or so, and they've been getting us to look back at previous programming, and I find myself finding these, and it did get a little bit going, remember that when you could just go up and hug a stranger? Just so happened that stranger was dressed in very, very next to nothing, or dressed as a maid. I was going to say study maid, but we'll not go down there. It's not Halloween. It's not. But anyway, Darren, we haven't heard from you in a little bit. Are you excited about Kong versus Godzilla?
No, not at all. That was
How very dare you?
one of my very first ever appearances on the TV show. You made me watch that awful Godzilla film, and I've never forgiven you. And speaking of forgiveness, you've probably noticed I've been quite quiet. It's just when people are throwing around the Strand Arts Centre, I always go a bit into myself because I told you just before in the podcast, I was once kicked out of the Strand Cinema as a child. And Joe knows where I'm going with this, but I was about 10. I was 10. And me and
Hang
my
on,
friends...
are we getting two story? We're getting two Darren.
We're getting two, you know this one,
on
but I'm thinking it's a chance for me to come clean. Obviously, someone here, Kate has got links with the cinema and maybe knows about this. Maybe it's been bandied around, but when I was 10, me and my friends, with some friends from school, we all went to see Bring It On Saturday, the Kirsten Dunst film. And me and my friend, who I'll not name because he probably won't want to be named, we got kicked out for drinking rock shandy in the back of the cinema. And we got completely lambasted on the screen because, one, we shouldn't have been in it. It was a 12A. We had no guardians or parents with us. And we were drinking 1% alcohol. So we get kicked out. I don't think I went back to the Strand until Jim invited me about 2 years ago.
I think was that for the last Starfighter screening?
Yeah,
you were very nervous. I think you were kind of worried that there might be a photograph of 10-year-old Darren Vincent. And they kind of
that photograph,
and they had top end technology that they were year on year. They were able to digitally age you just so they know exactly what you would look like.
That's it. I haven't been back, and it's sad for me because my dad always tells me that's where he met my mum, in that cinema. They went to see Tony Christie in like the 70s, and that every time I hear that story, my heart breaks because of what I did to that cinema screen that day.
Well, I think. Here, Kate's a former employee of the Strand. BanterFlix has strong connections with the Strand. Mm-hmm. I think we'll put a good word in for you, Darren.
I really appreciate that.
All can be forgiven. I'm sure that I've seen worse in my time there, and there will be worse. So I think you can be absolved of drinking shandy.
So there you go. Kate was a former employee. She has absolved you of your guilt. I don't know, Joe, is anything you think, any kind of 3 Hail Marys, anything like that Darren should say to kind of, I don't know what the cinematic equivalent of that would be. 3 Kaiser Sozes, just to kind of get yourself kind of to be forgiven for your rock shandy shame.
I think having to sit through 3 awful art house films, I think that'd be good. What those films are, we'll leave it up to the Almighty to decide. But I think something adds a fair punishment for Darren.
Yeah, there we go. We will. I'll speak with Joanna at the Strand, and we'll see what we can kind of come up. We'll just do a private hire of Screen 4 and just make Darren sit through, some terrible kind of maybe just the Godzilla films. That's all the
right, there you go.
Just please make sure I haven't sneaked any shandy in with me, because I am liable. I know what I'm like. I'm a real sort of hazard to myself. So if you can stop me from taking any even 1% alcohol in.
Are you worried, Darren, that just being in the presence of the Strand might just be a trigger for you? You might just find yourself just sitting in the seat, just kind of, you'll be like, what do you call them, an airplane? You'll have a drinking problem, just throwing it behind you.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, Jim. It can go either way. It could be a shandy or it could be a slush puppy. So it's...
Or a slush puppy with a bit of, shandy mixed in with it.
That's it.
Just for the hard stuff. Okay, so look, I think we've rambled quite a bit. We have a bit of time left. So we're going to come back. So as I said at the start of this Rambly pod, we are recording this on Valentine's weekend. Darren on our little WhatsApp group was very disappointed, particularly at me, when he was kind of talking, how long are we going to be rambling for? I have things to plan. I have a weekend of romance. And he's like, Apu in The Simpsons just wants to kind of go all out. And I kind of was like, a card will do. A card and maybe some flowers. Later on Sunday, like go in about 5:30, get the reduced flowers, go back and say, darling, I love you. There's some flowers and a card. Boom, bish, bash, bosh. Throw on When Harry Met Sally and it's Valentine's Day sorted, right? But you were disappointed, Darren. So we're recording this as say, we'll come back to the thing. We put in our little meet cute generator. So just to go back over it, it was character A is a juggler. Character B is a clown. They're doing their boardwalk acts and they bump into each other. Character A mistakes character B for their friend and butt jabs them. So we've already got ass tag as the name for our movie. And I think we'll go with the tagline, she thought she knew that hand, right? So that's our tagline, that's our movie. What are we going here with our kind of actors here?
Can I suggest Jeff Goldblum as the juggler?
Yes. Sold. Boom. Done. If you were here, we didn't even get to the rest of the cast. We've got ass tag. We've got that tagline. Jeff Goldblum. Someone at this point, Kate, would just be to you going, "You've done it again, Howard." There we
Sacks
go.
of money.
His best friend just happens to be a pie. But yeah,
I'm listening.
So I think, are we all happy with Jeff Goldblum here in the casting?
Oh yeah.
So then who? I'm thinking if we're going to go down that quirkiness, if we've got a juggler, I think for a clown, Annette Bening, someone like that, someone a bit quirky.
Yes.
Annette Bening, that type of thing. I don't know. Julianne Moore, but then I would just love it and cry because I think she would make me believe that she's a full clown, that she's a clown. Darren, Joe, Kate. Well, Kate's got Goldblum. I think.
Yeah.
Kate's coming here, and I think what we should do is we should pitch this at Cannes next year. We've got a movie. Goldblum's attached. If he's going to do opening monologues for the Super Bowl, I think he'll do ass tag.
He will, yeah.
Yeah, he will.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think anyone kind of quirkier than kind of.
Don't forget, it doesn't have to be like a super hot actress. We're going to cover her in clown makeup. So
Dan Keaton.
Yeah, she was my other option, but I thought Annette Bening would have been a bit more quirky. But no, that could work too.
Or Amy. Let's go for one for the kids. Amy Schumer.
Oh, there's that age difference though. That's a bit dodgy. Like.
Yeah.
Come on, it's a modern world.
But it's still a bit creepy. Like,
All right.
Just imagine those two together.
I don't know. It adventures into Love Actually territory. That's all I can say. And kind of the older man, younger woman. But I don't know. I think so. Ass tag. She thought she knew that hand. Starring Jeff Goldblum, Joe, Darren. Who are we going with? Are we settling on Annette Bening or Dan Keaton, or are we going to are you going to give me a bit of left field? Do you know actually Sigourney Weaver is somehow because Sigourney Weaver is really good for she's comedy chops.
I was thinking Goldie Hawn there.
Oh,
great show.
So you've done it again, Howard.
It just slipped right the back of my head. I was like, I was thinking Meryl Streep, but then for some reason Death Becomes Her came in my head. I was like, oh yeah, no, Goldie Hawn.
Goldie Hawn.
Yeah.
I was just thinking something more like as a throwback to Mrs. Doubtfire. Why do we have to cast a woman in that role? Could it be a man playing a woman?
Yeah,
very true.
For added comedy,
or two men.
Sam Neill's having his wee bromance with him at the minute. They could translate that on the screen again, even though they were in Jurassic Park. But
I'm thinking more about the schematics of this. So this juggler, right? It's the perfect alibi because you're juggling, and then you ass tag someone. They're not going to suspect you because you're juggling. You've been concentrating on the juggling. Like, oh, it wasn't me. I got my hands full here.
I'm juggling, yeah.
So are you casting Shaggy then in this role? Wasn't me.
I'm thinking more of a mystery thriller. So it has to be an actress who has that sort of, sharpness about her that she would understand and appreciate that this guy's went out of his way to potentially drop a ball for.
Dario Argento's daughter. But then that gets into very kind of awkward territory that will not go down for all the reasons. But I don't know, maybe we'll get, I don't know, what do you call him from Scream?
Henry Winkler? The Falls?
Oh, I would love Henry. Look, I rewatched every year I set up to watch the Super Bowl. I always rewatch The Waterboy, and Henry Winkler can do comedy. What Mama don't know won't hurt her every time. Still makes
Roy
her laugh.
Orbison tattoo, isn't it?
Makes me laugh every time. And my lovely wife sat with me and just, that's our time. My lovely wife sat with me and kind of, I'm the person that kind of gets really grumpy at a lot of Adam Sandler films, but for me, The Waterboy still holds up. I don't love Happy Gilmore as much as I used to. Billy Madison kind of annoys me. Although shampoo is better, it goes in first. Condition, all that kind of stuff. I love, but I still find myself hating those films. I'm not a big fan of Big Daddy, although I know people that do. I don't like Click. All the ones that a lot of people really like, I don't. But The Waterboy holds up. So who we're going to cast? Sophia Loren then, if we're going with Henry Winkler. She's still making movies. I got sent some press release for stuff she was in this week.
Oh.
Juliette Binoche, why not?
Oh,
yes. Yeah.
I would watch that. Do you know what? I could imagine Juliette Binoche as a clown. She has that face that she just with a bit of makeup.
So her and Jeff Goldblum, that's a good pairing, I think.
I think I'm really happy with that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to do something like this every Ramble and just come up with a movie.
That's great.
And then I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of put it on paper and we'll send it off and we'll pitch it and see how far we get.
I'll Photoshop it. We'll get it done.
Yeah. We'll do. That's your job, Joe, before this podcast goes out, is to create us a poster for hashtag. She thought she knew that hand.
Right. If I come up with the picture, Darren, can you come up with like the tagline and the actual title underneath?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
Because it's a team effort here, right?
Right. Send me it. Let's just anything, Joe. Whenever it pops up on my phone that Joe has sent an image, my heart sinks every time.
Look, all I'm saying, guys, is I have IMDb Pro. I have IMDb Pro, so I could contact Goldblum. I could contact Juliette Binoche, and we could make this happen. Kate, unfortunately, it means you're now our funder. You know, that's
team effort. Team effort.
That's the way. We've all got our little roles. You're now the producer, or you've got to go out and get the money for it. Okay. So I think that pretty much brings the Ramble to a close. So thank you very much, Darren. Thank you very much, Joe. Nearly called you Jackie Weaver again, but I'll not. And thank you very much, Kate. But I thought before we go, now this won't work. I don't think it'll work as well for our audio listeners, but you can still enjoy the audible delights. So, Darren, you might want to fill people in. So you started doing us a quiz on a monthly basis. So we'll have your next quiz pretty soon. We will have to talk because unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to put the quizzes up live for copyright issues. We might have to find workaways around it because I've been looking into it and I don't know from the previous quiz if I'll be able to. But we decided on when we had the quiz, it was myself, Colette, Therese, and Joe. And I lovingly decided that we needed to have a little bit of a prize. So I put forward a suggestion. Do you want to tell our listeners and our viewers what that was, Darren?
So yes, we had a round where we had to identify the celebrity or actor or actress from the cameo video they had recorded. So I basically put them up on screen and blanked out their face. So Jim very kindly suggested that the winner of the quiz should get a cameo of their choice from a celebrity. Or sorry, I'll do this won't work for radio, but I'm doing this sort of marks here saying, celebrity. To record the thing. So I don't want to spoil. Am I allowed to spoil who won the quiz for?
No, you can say, because unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to put it up live. I don't think, or we'll be able to put it up. I don't think it'll make, maybe the next one, if we work out the kinks, we'll be able to get it up live or get it up uploaded.
Well, our very own Joe Mc Elroy won the quiz, and Joe, tell us who you decided to go for on the.
Do you want to hold fire, Joe? On kind of saying who you went with. So all I can say is, Joe, you put your request in, and Joe was very much he was a company man. He suggested getting a shout out, and it's like, guys, what I really want is I want this person to talk about how great and wonderful BanterFlix is and all the amazing things that we did. I was like, great, Joe, yeah. And he was also, Darren can vouch this, was like, guys, should I get this person? You know, this is the person I think, should we get this person or that person? I was like, no, Joe, none of this trying to be a good winner. Just take your moment, make your choice, and enjoy. So here we go.
Hello to all at BanterFlix. It's Sean Williamson here, Barry from EastEnders, Barry from Ricky Gervais Extras, and Barry in anything anyone's willing to pay me to be Barry in, basically. I sing Mustang Sally. Hey, I do comedy. Pat, you've trodden on me foot. Get off. And I do tragedy. You do love me, Janine, you do. I know you do. Now, old BanterFlix, yeah, your Belfast-based film review website. And very good it is too. Now, I know you run a monthly team quiz via Zoom with the winner getting a celebrity shout-out of their choosing. I am humbled, shocked, and deeply grateful then that this month the winner was the deputy editor, Joe Mc Elroy. Well done, Joe. Congratulations, and thank you for thinking of me to deliver this message. Congratulations, buddy. I see you're 31. I was 31 once. In 1995. Where's it all gone? Listen, I know a bit about you, buddy. You're a Celtic fan, so let's hope you can plug that gap this season. It's getting wider, that gap. But anyway, you're a brilliant football team. You'll be back. You love your horror movies and serial murder podcasts. Okay, that's cheerful. Listen, Joe, a couple of things you can do to celebrate. Get yourself down the old supermarket. Get yourself a nice bottle of wine. Get it home. Pour out a glass. Don't glug it, mate. You don't glug a lovely wine, do you? You sip a lovely wine. Show it a bit of respect. Go to the old bakery counter, get yourself a nice succulent chocolate muffin. Get it home, unwrap it lovingly so it knows it's in good hands. Lift it up to your lips and just go, hello you, and take a nice deep bite out of it. Will you do that for me, Joe? Anyway, Joe, it's no wonder you won. Do you know why? Because there was something inside so strong. I know that I can make it. Though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. Thought that my pride was gone. No, 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 no. Something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. Well done, Joe Mc Elroy.
That is incredible.
I'm actually crying.
There's no words. That's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Oh my god.
We got everything. We got everything.
It really did.
You went for it.
My favorite thing about all that was that I just put in randomly for some reason. It's like giving me interest, giving me some things to talk about, and I was like, I put in that Joe's 31. I think it was in his age, or it's like, what age is Joe? And he just kind of clearly was reading it, just was like, Joe, 31. I was 31 once. But
God.
What I loved more than anything was the fact that as we did fear, as beautiful as it is, a lot of it is pre-rehearsed. A lot of it, I feel, is, you've trodden on me foot, Pat. You know, oh, Janine, I love you. You do love me, Janine. I think every single person that gets a shout out, I think might get that little kind of rendition. But I thought that was much better, Joe, than trying to get, this is BanterFlix, how wonderful are we? This is what we decided to go with.
That was beautiful.
Quality.
I love it so much. I'm just going to be determined to win every quiz now, so we get Barry every single time.
Hey, all I'm going to say is I've already been on a few websites, and I've seen there's a few people that I'm surprised are around the budget kind of. We set like we're not kind of Empire. We've £30 is the limit that we've settled on.
Okay.
And I've seen some scary kind of expensive ones on Cameo that are kind of ridiculous amounts of money. But I'm just going to say I'm spending more time looking at those than I am swatting up for the next quiz. So I'm thinking about who I'm going to get more than actually swatting up. So
that's incredible. Can you imagine being his neighbours, like listening to that every 3 minutes?
You've gone mad.
And singing something inside so strong at every cameo.
At least you know he's all right.
No harm. He did look like he had aged considerably comparing that clip to the one that we played in the quiz. Like he looks 5 years older.
Oh, no.
But this is back where we thought that he'd been locked in a shed somewhere and he was forced to make these.
Janine was making him do these little cameo videos.
Yeah. So that's our first one from our victory. We'll get this up on social media when we know that the quiz is coming up, and probably Darren, you and I'll probably talk on WhatsApp and stuff beforehand about how we can make it probably a little bit more, the boring term, legal, so that we can actually get it up on and show people the quiz, and then we can show people kind of the joys of what happens when you get to win a BanterFlix quiz put on by Mr. Darren Vincent. So who knows who will be getting a shout out from in March time. I just don't know. I'm just excited. As I say, I'm spending more time on that than I am actually on kind of swatting up on film knowledge. That's all I can say. So I think that's, on that note, I've nowhere else. There's nothing can top Barry from Eastenders. Nothing can top Barry from Eastenders. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hope you've enjoyed this ramblier than usual episode of the podcast. Think of it as a longer version of our little feature we used to do, Any Other Business. So this is just Any Other Ramble. As I say, you can find the complete back catalogue of this podcast on our website. We have Joe's very own crime scene to screen. Darren, I know we'll hopefully be doing a few more of we need to talk about movie music. I have a few little projects in the back burner at the minute. I know you're hopefully getting a Cobra Kai podcast done, Darren, as well. And we have Geeking Out with the lovely Jess and Warren Blair. And we have Movie Screen. I have to get this right. Movie Screen to Cosplay Scene. Very close to Crime Scene to Movie Screen. But it's its own different thing with Gabrielle Radio talking to local cosplayers about their experience of cosplaying on this scene. And it's a lot of fun. I've just edited the first episode with Gabrielle talking to Amy Mills, aka Amy Wonder, and it was a lot of fun. So you'll find all those up on our website. You'll find all the previous articles, the backlog of the TV show. You can even, as I say, with the podcast, you can find Kate's appearance on the podcast and what a wonderful experience we had at the Odeon watching Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I think more memorable. I think you'd agree, Kate. The experience of watching the film was much more memorable than the film itself.
Definitely.
Yeah, so seek that out. So that's all for now. Thank you very much, Darren. Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you very much, Kate.
This has been We Need to Talk About Movies. Thanks for listening. For more information, visit BanterFlix.com. See you next time.